Welcome to the Krista Redpath Show, where sports take center stage and stories come to life. I'm your host, Krista, veteran analyst and passionate storyteller, bringing you weekly in-depth conversations and sharp analysis across the world of sports. The Krista Redpath Show, breaking down the game, elevating the story, and championing the female voice. Today's show is proudly brought to you by Vertical Rays, the Big Sky Conference, Layered Cowley, and the Good Food Store. At the Good Food Store, they believe good food should be good for the planet too. That's why they launched their glass jar program, reusable, returnable jars for their house-made deli favorites. Here's how it works. Pick up your favorite deli item in a glass jar, pay a $2 deposit, and when you're done, bring it back clean. They'll refund your deposit, no hassle. Delicious food, less waste. It's that simple. Join the glass jar movement at the Good Food Store today. It's championship week in the Big Sky, and the bracket is officially set. Idaho finishes 17-1, riding a 15-game winning streak. Montana State is right behind at 16-2. Northern Colorado sitting at 22 wins, and don't overlook Idaho State at 12-6, a physical, dangerous team nobody wants to see in a quarterfinal. As we all know, once you get to Boise, everything resets. There's no one better to break this down than Hall of Famer and former Weber State head coach Carla Taylor. CT, when you look at the final standing sheet, what jumps out to you the most heading into Boise?
It just is amazing that even on the very last night of all the games, everyone waiting to see the results because things were not shored up yet. And then I think all Big Sky teams are playing some of their best basketball right now, and it's tight. I mean, the standings are set, but still the games were so close. And you know, you have Idaho down by Eastern for a while during that game, and Eastern playing so well, and you know, Sac State going into Idaho State and winning there, and Weber State picking up another win against a Portland State team that's played 3 games in 5 days. And Montana, they're Northern Colorado barely getting Montana by 2. It just leads into an incredible Starch Madness weekend in Boise, and it's going to be anybody's game. Teams are playing well, all of them, all 10 teams playing well.
So it really came down to this last week of play, and how our standings have ended up is Idaho is our regular season champ, Montana State number 2, Northern Colorado number 3, Idaho State number 4, Sac State number 5, Eastern Washington number 6, NAU number 7, Montana number 8, Weber State number 9, and Portland State number 10. Now, have we seen it ever come down to this last night of play, CT?
I don't think it's ever come down to the very end to decide placings, right? Of the placing going into the tournament. So, which was fun to watch the scores come in and catch the end of the games. And obviously I had the call on the Weber State, Portland State game. And those 2 seniors, Lene Billy and Antoinette Eminopu, obviously Weber State playing well against Portland State, but it's so exciting. You know, Idaho held on to be the league champion, conference champion, but had they not won that game, it could have been co-champions with Montana State. You just never knew until it was all over last night.
Well, let's start with the call last night. I watched you. It was great.
Right. The 2 seniors went out with a bang, and Weber State played really well. And in defense of Portland State, that was their 3rd game in 5 nights, and Weber State only played on Saturday, close loss to Idaho State. So they'd only played 2, and Portland State coming on the road, which that's just how the schedule ends up. But they hadn't met since January 1. They played their first conference game at Portland State, like you said, and they didn't have Eminopu in that game. So Portland State had not experienced Antoinette Eminopu yet. She was out with the concussion protocol. And Weber State going with a little bit bigger lineup than they had when they first played Portland State. So different teams, but now that's the first game of the conference tournament on Saturday.
And that's going to be really fun, right? I mean, it's always
Yes.
like some nerves that happen when you have your first two teams that get on the floor, and
Right.
they'll have to face a Idaho team
Whoever wins.
as the number one seed. But I really feel like it's a lot of momentum, right? You want to have that success at the tournament. And so you're going to see success out of either your 9 or 10. So it's going to be either Portland State or Weber State that's going to go on to play Idaho.
Right. And that's, we've seen this in the past, that number one and the number two teams come on Sunday. Well, they have to sit and watch Saturday way the other four teams play. And then it just carries into the next game for the four teams that have played, and those 1 and 2 seeds. There's always a little nerves. You notice because there's the pressure's on them, right? The pressure's on the 1 and 2 seed. And it's always interesting. And anything can happen in the month of March when it's tournament time.
That just leads me to this next point. Idaho has won 15 straight. Like, at what point does a streak become pressure instead of momentum?
I don't think it becomes pressure. I think the pressure was, okay, we won the regular season, and it wasn't by much because, like I said, had they lost last night against Eastern and Montana State wins, which they won handily, then you're co-conference champions. But Idaho prevails, they win it outright, and now it's like, okay, we start all over. Everybody's even Steven. We're all 0-0 going into the tournament. You can't count on that you won 15 or you lost 15. Anything can happen on any given night. And that's what makes March Starch Madness so exciting.
So Idaho wins by 11 against Eastern Washington on Monday, and it was a very neck and neck game until Idaho really started to put together a lot of offense in that fourth quarter. But Ella Gallatin had a game. I mean, she had 26, and Courtney Grossman had 15 points and 17 rebounds. I mean, that's just an insane stat line for anyone. And Elin Bowers, who I've talked about as, I think, one of the best freshmen in the league, she finishes with 12. But that should show right there the parity in the league, because Eastern Washington finished 6th.
Right.
And they took the regular season champion right down to that fourth quarter of play.
Right. At their place, at Idaho's home court.
What I like about Idaho, though, CT, and we've talked a lot about them, is just their multiple offensive weapons, right? So Hope Passman has a game. She puts up 25. Kira Gardner only has 9 in that game. And Lorena Barbosa has 9. Deb Dos Santos has 10. But he got offense from a lot of players. And it just seems like not only are they able to put up the defensive pressure, but they're also able to find quite a few offensive stretches.
Oh, they don't just count on 1 or 2 players, which I think other teams possibly do. Idaho has the most scoring weapons of any team in this league. And their depth has prevailed through the conference, the regular season conference, to allow them to play a lot of players and get contributions from different players. And you'll see most games, they've got 4, 5 people in double figures offensively.
So Montana State has championship muscle memory, right?
Yes.
They won 30 games. They won the championship last year. When you look at Coach Binford, how valuable is it having players who've been through the pressure of Boise and gotten all the way through to win a championship?
Oh, I think, it's invaluable. The only way you get that is to have been there. And Coach Binford will have her team ready, and the style they're going to play, and you have to be able to handle their pressure. You have to be able to handle their trap and the way they play in passing lanes, and the way if you turn it over, it's almost an automatic 2 points at the other end. That's how good they are on their defense, on the defensive end. Defense becomes their best offense, and they are deadly. And that kind of pressure wears on teams. And for Montana State, it's just all about effort, energy, playing together, being on the same page defensively, and everybody giving the effort. And then you play hard and you're going to get a rest. And she brings in a new group and you play hard, you're going to get a rest. So they are young, and not all those players were able to play last year in the tournament, in the championship, and go to the NCAAs, but there's enough of them returning. They know what it takes. They know what it's going to take to get to that championship game and win.
Well, and they had a 20-point win over NAU where they caused 32 turnovers.
How many times do we say, if you can get under their average of, don't they average either 27 or 23, some ungodly amount of turnovers? If you can stay under that, you're like, psych. But those turnovers result in a layup at the other end most of the time.
That nucleus is not returning for Montana State. I mean, they definitely have Addie Harris and Taylor Cherrick, who were formative players. They had great minutes, but they came off the bench last year. Ella Johnson, Izzy Bunyan, two other players that have gotten significant minutes. But for the most part, this is a new starting five. Binford. And so, yes, they've gone all the way through. They've cut down a net, but this is a different team this year.
Right. And it's a young team, but it's a young, really talented, athletic, long in length team. And sometimes those young players, they don't know to be nervous, and they just come in and play. And it seems like for the most, they have done that. And I think Coach Binford and her staff are very happy with this group, and they enjoy coaching this group.
UNC is quietly 22-9 overall. So they've got size, scoring, veteran guards. They've got a veteran post in Anaya Hall. Is this the most dangerous 3 seed?
We've talked about Northern Colorado and Idaho State all year long about the danger of those two teams. When they put it together, when they are relentless on defense, but when Northern Colorado is relentless on defense, and when they're able to score in the post and the guards are able to hit from the perimeter, they're deadly. I mean, obviously, they only lost 5 conference games, and 4 of those were obviously to the top 2 teams. But you go into a conference tournament, and they have such a combination of veteran players in the post, and their guards are relatively young. And I wanted to talk about young players in the league and the impact they made. But, I mean, Heather Byman and Nina George, they're both sophomores.
Right.
So, but they're also so athletic and so explosive. They can handle the ball. They can handle a press. I think they look really good. They could be an upsetter. They could be somebody that makes an upset bid. Yeah. And not an upset because it's the tournament. But, you're going in as a 3 seed. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, we saw them unravel just a little bit this past Monday, though, because their game with Montana, the Lady Grizz put up 23 points in that fourth quarter. And boy, UNC could just not buy a basket in that last stretch of play. And so you wonder, you don't want to overlook those Monday games, but it's already set, and you got to go all the way up to Missoula to play. I also want to give credit to the Lady Grizz. They
had every chance to win the game, missed the layup, and then have to foul. But they lost by 2, and they seemed in control of the game. You're right. The Lady Grizz did look like they were in control and had chances to win that game.
Well, and when I look at Montana, you had Avery Waddington that had 8 points and Matt Koenig only had 6. And so that's pretty impressive that the Lady Grizz were able to show their other weapons. Abby Schubert had 19 and Jocelyn Land had 19. So that's a good thing for Nate Harris as he heads into the tournament.
They've lost some close games.
They really have.
And that tends to make teams and players hungry. Once you get to the tournament, they lost games that they feel like maybe they should have got. And so, they're not intimidated. They're going to come in and play and get after people.
UNC, one player that I really want to point out is Tatum West. I've talked about her all year. I think she's got size. She's got versatility. She ended up with 15 rebounds and 13 points. I thought she was really key. And UNC really dominated the boards. And that was the difference in this game. I mean, they ended up 40-23 on the boards, or 26.
And they dominate most games on the boards.
They do. So I think UNC definitely a solid team, and Coach Matteo really wanting to put her mark with this team and make some progress and get a win in Boise and just ride that momentum.
Right.
Idaho State feels like a team that nobody wants to see in the
Right.
tournament. 4 seeds are dangerous, but wow, I was most shocked at that Monday game with Sac State beating
Yeah.
Idaho State
At home.
85 to
know.
72. And for Idaho State to give up 85 points. Now, I haven't talked to Coach Sobolewski yet, but I guarantee that hurt.
Yes. Well, Weber State played Idaho State Saturday down here in Ogden, and it was a close game. And had Weber State made free throws down the stretch, they had a chance to win that game. I think Idaho State's a little bit beat up right now. Tasia Jordan only played 8 minutes the game before the Weber State game, and I think they're trying to get her fresh. And then Piper Carlson kind of rolled her ankle a little bit in the game at Weber State. So they're a little bit beat up physically. And they have this last week before the tournament to hopefully get those kids healthy. But they are such tough, gritty, give it your all players that, nobody wants to. And how Coach Sobolewski is, Seton has his teams tournament ready every year. So you're right. You don't want to face Idaho State.
Take just a minute to talk about Sac State. They're our number 5 seed in the tournament, and to put up 85 points, CT, you got to give some credit. Gray had 24, Benta Vierstig had 18, Natalie Picton had 18. I mean, how important is it for this Sac State team to put up 85 points heading into the tournament and feel that momentum or that confidence on the offensive end?
Well, I felt like all year they kind of been up and down. Sac State, to me, is a deadly team based on their personnel. Natalie Picton played on that Montana State championship team last year. And then you have Benta Versteg, and I think she is a really, really nice player. And you have such a deadly weapons, and they could put it all together and also be a team that upsets somebody because they have post players, they're physical, they defend, and then when they are scoring, when they get in a rhythm and they're rolling, they're really good.
So CT, I wonder about tournament play. What wins? Is it in the half court execution? Obviously, I think it's shots made, whoever gets hot. But I do think that that's not something, this is more of like an endurance race, right?
Right.
You can have moments where you get hot, you can get some great defensive stops, but I always lean on, my favorite saying is the 1,000th mile journey begins with one step. I don't feel like the teams that necessarily get hot in the first part of the game are the ones that prevail. So what is it? What is key from your coaching pedigree and background? What is key to winning in Boise?
I just think you have to have your team bought into, number one, defensively, what are you going to do to take away the strengths of that team you're playing? And what is the strategy going to be to stop or defend the post or whatever? And those kids have to be bought in. But I think it's defense and rebounding, because everybody's not going to shoot their best games, especially in the first round, right? You're nervous, you want to move on, and everybody wants to win the championship. So playing each possession and playing tough defense, making it difficult for people to score, and then you worry about your offense. Because you don't have control over offense, you have control over defense and rebounding. So you really focus on the things you have control of as a team. And I think those are the type of things that end up winning down the stretch and get you into a championship and then move on to the NCAA tournament.
So what changes in a coach's brain this week heading into the tournament? Are you focused on making sure travel is what it is, right?
Yeah,
that
right.
It might be bumpy, but you want to keep routines the same. Do you want to get there early and have your team watch the team that they could be playing? Or are you like, no, let's keep our routine and keep our practice schedule and all of the various pieces that have gotten us this far? What goes through your mind as a coach?
Well, I think you I mean, obviously, because some people play Saturday, and then you have the 1 and 2 play Sunday, and then you have 3 through 6 that don't play until Monday. So it's kind of different with our format. I think you try to keep your team focused and really, some teams are going to rest their team. Some teams are going to stay focused and they're going to continue to do what they've done, through the season. But really, you want your kids fresh and you want them focused, and you're only focusing on that one single game.
Right.
So whoever you're playing, that's your whole focus. You don't really care about what else is going on. But I would assume that Montana and Idaho will come and watch that first game. But those teams, 3 through 6 are not going to come probably until Sunday, and then they'll watch that game. But it's really just trying to keep them focused and have fun and try to keep it light, because you don't want them exhausted mentally by the time you get to your game, right?
Well, and also we've got the men's tournament going. So I oftentimes see some of the women's players watching the men's games, but then I've also heard from coaches, I don't want them just sitting in the arena for hours and hours every day as we wait to play. And I've heard that waiting all the way for those Monday games, it's hard, right? That's when we see our 4-5 and our 3-6.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of waiting. Like it's a waiting game.
And I think that's the hardest thing is, what do you do with your team while you're waiting to keep them, focused? Or, I don't know if most schools are on spring break right now or they're not, but I would guess that they try to keep a normal routine for a game based on, okay, we play tomorrow, what will we normally do? But you also have a lot of downtime.
Right.
I mean, they really do have a lot of downtime. So it's interesting. I don't know, because I've never, as a coach, coached in a situation like this tournament. When I was coaching, it was the number 1 seed hosted, and it was only 4.
You had a bye, and you played, hope you just played Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
You were the top team. Like you were looking towards a 3-day tournament run, but hopefully you were only playing 2 of those nights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it was so different. So, and even like for most of it, which Rob knows this, there was only 4 teams that went to the tournament, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and number 1 hosted. So I guess I can't really answer your question very well, because I've never been in the situation that these coaches are in.
Well, I also feel like when you're preparing for a team that you might play in 24 hours, you've already seen these teams this year.
Right.
So I think for me, being the analyst and looking from the outside in, the teams that just stay the course and they own their own identity and they focus more on their own play, what these players are capable of, right? If you see an Idaho State, Tasia Jordan can elevate, she's going to get up.
Casey Spink is going to rebound. She's going to defend. She's going to hustle after every loose ball. Like you just know their personnel.
Right.
And most coaches aren't going to change a lot, because what they've been doing has got them where they are. I think those lower teams, they hope that the game experience has they've improved and they have a chance to do the things that the coaches know they're capable of doing.
So the tournament last year, Montana really, played an incredible tournament. They came in as the number 6 seed, and they knocked off Idaho, who was number 3, and they just surged through the tournament, playing their best basketball. And
had a chance to win at the very end.
They did. I mean, they were a basket away from going to the NCAA tournament. Right. One thing that I really admired about Montana in their tournament run last year was just how they took care of the basketball. Right. And that is, to me, the team that takes care of the ball and they're able to make shots consistently.
Right.
I think that's a team that we could see anyone come through in that lower half of the seedings and make a run like we saw Montana at a 6.
Absolutely. And Montana's didn't they play 3 games in 3 nights? And you would never have thought that 3rd game that they had played 2 games previously. I mean, they played fresh, they played energized, there was no letdown, even though it was the 3rd game in a row. So these young players,
They can handle it. They can handle it. So Nate Harris really only played six players. So, I mean, they literally played the entire time. And sometimes I think you get that confidence of playing together. You feel that cohesiveness. You get a couple groups, and now you have your rotation solidified, right? You know what you're going to get. And we know that Coach Binford is going to lean on her depth. But I've also seen her playing her starters when it counts as well. And, you know, she's really going to have to rely on a Taylor Chiric from an offensive end as well as defense.
Addie Harrison, too.
Yes. And so you're seeing, you know, even Taylor Chiric, she got 31 minutes against NAU. You know, Coach Binford definitely likes to keep those fresh legs, but you do have to rely on the players that have gotten you this far.
Right. And when it comes down to it, and it's the last, 6-7 minutes of the game, even for Coach Binford, those kids are fresh enough that, Taylor Chiric could play 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
She could.
She's not tired.
No, she's not tired. She's like the Energizer Bunny. I don't think she ever gets tired, and she never lacks effort because she always gives it. But I think, too, these young players, they don't realize what they're capable of doing. I mean, it's with the media timeouts and stuff, you're only going to play 3 or 4 minutes, and then you get a break, and it's a 2.5-minute break. So, I mean, kids could play 40 minutes a game and really play hard and not be tired, I believe. They shouldn't be tired.
Okay, CT, so I'm the color analyst. You're going to be the color analyst for the Big Sky Courtside. So you're going to be coming on pregame, halftime, and postgame. So we have to be careful in our predictions because I don't want to get on the radio and on the podcast telling who I think is going to win. But who do you think has the fewest question marks out of all 10 teams heading into Boise?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Well, I think 1 and 2, Idaho and Montana State, I don't think they have question marks because they've proven that the type of style they play works for their players or for their team, and they're going to bring that to the table at the tournament.
So we have our 1 and 2. I agree with you there. Like if we're sitting here next week and we're talking about a surprise finalist, somebody who made a run, given the way everyone's playing right now, would you give me just give me 1 or 2?
It's scary, but the way Eastern and Sac State are playing right now with nothing to lose, as well as Northern Colorado, I worry about Idaho State if they're not healthy. I hope they are for their sake because they've got a big core of seniors that I really like, and I really like what they've done all year. But yeah, Sac State seems dangerous to me. And also just the way Eastern Washington's been up and down. Northern Colorado has been squeaking out games, which you love that. But yeah, that game against Montana, they could have just as easily lost that had that gal made the layup and not missed the layup to tie the game. I'm just glad that I'm doing the courtside because I can sleep at night and not have to worry. But I think this could be one of the most exciting tournaments we've had in a while, where it really there's such good teams. And really, I wrote some things down. The young players who've made huge impacts on their team. Eastern Washington, Courtney Grossman, a sophomore, she sets the Big Sky single season rebounding record with 372 boards in 1 year. Northern Arizona's Naomi White, the leading scorer. She's amazing. She also set NAU's single season 3 points shots made at 88. Eastern Washington's Ellen Bowers. She's amazing little point guard. The freshman from Portland State who you love, Hannah Chickens, does not play like a freshman. She looks like a seasoned. I know she's a foreign player, but let me tell you, she plays like she's a junior or senior. And then Montana State, freshmen, Jamison Phillips, Grace Hines, Brittany Bailey, sophomores, Taylor Chiric. Those are young kids. And I love it that these young kids out of high school are making such an impact. Northern Colorado, the sophomores, Idaho, sophomore, or Anna Pinheiro. There's these young players that really have made big impact in the Big Sky Conference.
Well, I know this time of year, to me, it's a lot of prep, right? I'm doing
Yeah.
boards like crazy, writing out all these facts and stats.
Yeah.
But one thing that I really love to do is we feature a player before every game. And I've already like picked the players for the first game. And, I look at like Kylie Brown. To me, I think she's just played great for Portland State.
She has. Should mention her because I loved her last year as a freshman. I think she has a high basketball IQ. She plays with poise. She handles the ball. She can shoot it. She's another young player, just a sophomore. And I think at Weber State, she had 18 or 22 points. Kylie Brown had 22 points against Weber State. You leave her open on the 3-point line, you might as well write a 3 in the books. And she doesn't get rattled for a young player, does not get rattled.
So my player feature for Weber State is going to be Emma Nopu. She finished the game against Portland State with 12 rebounds and 12 points. CT, you have a front row courtside seat to this Weber State team. What does a player like Emma Nopu bring to Weber State? I feel like she's one of the strongest players in the league, both offensively and defensively. But give us your thoughts on her.
She never changes her demeanor. I love to watch her, but she's an undersized. She's only 5'9" or 5'11", I think.
5'11", I think.
5'11". She's 5'11", but she is such a quick jumper, and she's so mobile and has such good footwork. But she can also step out and shoot the 3, and she's a good free throw shooter. And defensively, I think she had 4 blocks in the game on Monday. She had 4 blocks, I believe. She really does a great job. Defensively, you're not going to move her in the low post. She's good. She plays good post. But I would say what's special about her is how mobile she is. In a foot race, she'd stay up with guards. She's really fast. She's explosive. She has that innate ability to know where the ball's going to come off to rebound. She does things that you don't teach. They just have it or they don't, and really have enjoyed watching her for 2 years.
Well, she had 3 steals too. So I think she's an X factor. If I'm going to give an X factor for Weber State, it's going to be Emma Nopu.
She has to have a big game rebounding, and she has to score for them because she did not score well against Idaho State. But you know how Idaho State collapses in the key. So she struggled in the game against Idaho State to score. But Weber State lost 54-59, only 5 points. But they went 6 of 14 from the free throw line, and all but 4 of those were down the stretch. And that's uncharacteristic because they're like a 76% free throw shooting team. So anyway.
So that's our 9-10 matchup. The second game is going to be NAU versus Montana. And my players to feature in that game are going to be Naomi White and Avery Waddington. Just top level thoughts about both of those players and what they do for their team.
I think they're both amazing players. And they're hard to stop when they have the ball in their hands, and they create shots for themselves, and they're really good. With Avery Waddington, you just have that tall length, man. If she can get close to the rim on, her little dribble in, and she's deadly. And then with Naomi Watts, if you don't guard her and have a hand in her face or deny her the ball, she's going to have 20 plus points. And she's done it all year.
Well, I think Avery Waddington too, what's really special about her too, CT, she's that player that can rebound and then take it the other way.
She can go,
Yeah, she's a 6'3" body that has really good handles. And as a coach, you love that because you're like, all right, lead the break. Just go for that. When you have somebody that's reliable and that can do that, I think that's really what separates a player like Avery Waddington.
Right. She's hard to stop. And she, like you say, she can rebound. She's great defensively, and she rebounds on the defensive end. But just to have a player that tall, but with that mobility and the ability to handle the ball is amazing. She's fun to watch. Love watching her play.
So we're taking off for Boise. CT, it's so much fun with us all staying at the Grove, right? A lot of the media, and we're able to see teams and coaches and
Right.
various people that, Big Sky Conference, people that we work with. Like,
Mhm.
talk about that environment for the tournament and what that's like for all of us basketball nuts.
It's so fun. It really is so fun. You come down in the lobby, whether it's early morning going to get coffee, and you see coaches bringing their teams in for shoot arounds, and you see fans. And the proximity of everything in Boise is walkable, and that's what makes it so nice. And even for those of us that get to stay in the Grove, you walk down in the lobby, and then you walk out, and you're in the arena, and just, we can go to the Big Sky, their setup, their headquarters, and you can watch games or watch practices. And I mean, if you're a basketball junkie, there is nothing better than those 5 days in Boise.
Well, you've heard it here. And so now, if you haven't made your plans, you can still get tickets and you can get a chance to watch 20 teams play. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's so amazing to be able to watch a women's and a men's tournament. So for
right.
all of our listeners out there, you can actually buy your tickets through the Krista Redpath Show link and you can get 10% off. So I will throw that link back up on my Instagram and X pages. So if you have not made plans, I know CT and I would love to see you in Boise.
Absolutely. All those fans, all those people that listen to your show, which has been amazing this year, Krista, you've done a great job with your features and so prepared. It's been, hopefully you're listening. You've drawn in a lot of listeners from all around the Big Sky Conference, from all the different cities, and that we've been able to give them some kind of information that has been fun and exciting.
Well, I need to throw that right back at you because each week you take time to talk about it with me. And I feel like from a coaching perspective, that's golden, right? To be able to get inside how all of you coaches think has been fun. And also, I think that it's been great to show women's basketball the love, right? I mean, we
Right.
know how important it is for us and as former players. And so it's really neat to see Missoula Broadcasting get behind this show and really let it be female led. And I just really appreciate it, CT, and your time.
Well,
It's very
and
valuable.
I love that you've been able to get sponsorship, and hopefully, in the future you can get more sponsorship, and that more people learn about it and listen to it. And um, for us, it's fun. I get to see you every week so I enjoy it.
Well, next week on the show, we will be talking about a champion. So we'll see you in Boise
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right, Krista. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Krista Redpath Show, where today we are honored to be joined by head coach for the University of Idaho, Arthur Moreira. Thank you so much for taking time with us today. I know that you have a busy schedule. First off, I just want to congratulate you, like first regular season title for Idaho since 2019.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pretty special moment, especially because of the people we got to do it with. So
In,
it
in
was cool.
only your second year at the helm, Arthur. So that's really impressive. So we're heading into one of the most exciting weeks of the year, the Big Sky Conference tournament, where everything seems to reset and everyone has a chance to make that NCAA tournament run. When you take a look back at this season, 26-5, your last and only loss coming on January 10th in Bozeman, like where do you see the most amount of growth for this team from January until now?
Yeah, I honestly think that game in Bozeman against Montana State is what kind of turned our season around. I felt like we have been playing pretty well up to that point. We're kind of right there, one of the top three, top four teams in the conference. But I felt like after we lost that game, there was just a different approach in practice by our team. Nobody likes losing it, especially by that much, right? A 33-point loss is not fun for anybody. And I felt like after that, we just had 100% of their focus. Anytime a coach would speak in practice, the girls would just be so locked in. You could see in their eyes that they were really hungry and they wanted to avenge that loss and they wanted to win the conference. And that kind of turned it around for us. I mean, it's been really fun to see how much better we've gotten from that point on until now. I just feel like our girls keep finding different ways to win. If we don't shoot well, if we don't rebound, if something's not working, they always just find a way.
And that was going to be my next question right there is that you're first in the league with how many points you put up per game, close to 80 per game, but you found other ways to win. You had to win against UNC maybe by not putting up as many points, the same against Idaho State. It just seems like your style of play, defense creates offense, but you just find different ways to win.
Yeah, I'm really happy where our defense is at now. I was not happy where he was early in the season, but I felt like the we're finally playing pretty good defense, And last year, that's kind of what we hang our hat on. I didn't feel like we had the personnel to be that good offensively, so we focused on defense early on. This year was the other way around, right? I kind of wanted to change our offense up. I like the way we play, but we spent so much time on it that our defense kind of took the back seat. But now I feel like we're a pretty good level with both, and that's what it takes to win, especially late in the season. You're not always going to score a bunch of points. You got to be able to rebound. You got to be able to defend. And I feel like we're doing those two things at a high level now.
So you have five players scoring in double figures. That's just so impressive. And when I look at the minutes, I mean, Lorena Barbosa just, playing under 20 minutes a game, but I feel like Deb Dos Santos comes off the bench and you just don't skip a beat there. And the two of them combined for over 20 points a game. I feel like your guard play is so balanced too with Hope Hassman and Kira Gardner. Can you speak to that just a little bit on the balance of play?
Yeah, I feel like our post players don't get enough credit just because of the minutes that they play,
I'm a post player. I'll give them credit.
Yeah, I truly think those two are the two best post players in the Big Sky, and I don't know if it's close, but their numbers don't might not look at it because, like you said, they both play 20 under 20 minutes each. So there's been other post players in the league that average more points, maybe average more rebounds, but anytime we play them, we win that matchup. And
Mhm.
people don't realize is out of those 40 minutes of the center spot, we're getting crazy efficiency between the two of them. So,
Yes.
and it's just hard because every team we play, usually they have a really good post player, and then when the sub comes in, you kind of relax a little bit. It's like, okay, maybe we'll have a break for the next 2, 3 minutes. They don't have that luxury with us. When Lorena comes out, Deb comes in. And they're different players, but you never miss a beat. And then, like you said, our guard play has been incredible this year. I think Hope and Kira are the type of players that they can win a game for you, on any given night. I mean, Eastern Washington gave us a great run on Monday, and then Hope decided to score 20 points in the fourth quarter, right? So it's special when you have one of those, but I think we have two on our team. And then when you add Ella and Ana Pinheiro on top of that, with how they defend, they can take away their two best players on the other team. Then you got something pretty special going on.
Who are your vocal leaders out of that group?
Yeah, Deb does a really good job with it. She just has that right balance between calling people out, but I think
Mhm.
she puts so much work and people like her so much that it's okay for her to do it. And we've all been there as players when there's some people that try to be leaders, but maybe they don't have the respect of the locker room, and then it just comes out the wrong way, right? And Deb is not like that. I mean, everybody respects her. Everybody admires her work ethic and how good of a player she is, and she's also not afraid of calling people out. She's not afraid of being vocal with the refs, which is I've been working on it with her. I hate when players do that, but she just always has a smile on her face, so she gets away with it.
Well, I think you kind of have to have that edge, Coach
Yeah,
Moreira. I think that
for
there is
sure.
some of those players that you kind of have to just go, okay, that's their style of play, and they give us what we need when it counts.
No doubt, no doubt.
So once the tournament starts, the regular season is behind you, right? And we talked earlier in the year, Coach Moreira, about last year being a number 3 seed and hitting a surging Montana, and just maybe taking your foot off the gas before heading into Boise. How do you get your players ready for that mental reset heading into this tournament play?
Yeah, I think our girls are just excited. They are super happy about what we accomplished in the regular season, but we always had two goals. The first one was to win the regular season, but the main goal is to get to the NCAA tournament. And unfortunately, where the Big Sky is as a conference now, if we lose at any point over the next week, we're not going to make it. So this is the number one goal, and not that it's going to take away from what we did this season if we lost, because I still feel like the girls should be really proud of it. Worst case scenario, we don't make the NCAA tournament. They still had a heck of a run, but it will definitely be disappointed. So I feel like it's kind of they motivate themselves. They truly believe we have a chance to win. Last year it was more like us coaches trying to sell them the idea, hey, we can do this. I
Mhm.
feel like this year is a little easier because they've seen success and they truly believe that we have a pretty good chance of making it.
So we are a one bid league. But back in 1993, we actually had a team that got in as an at-large, Boise State.
Oh,
So Montana won and Boise State got in. Now they were both 18 and 19th in the nation back and forth. So we just haven't seen that since. But boy, I would love to get our league to a point where we could see another team get in.
oh, it would be awesome. When I was in the WCC, there was a one point they did it on the men's side, and then the women's tried as well. We brought in a couple analytics guys to talk
Mhm.
scheduling with us, and I felt like that really elevated the level of the league. You know, the because the year after that on the men's side, the WCC had three teams in the tournament. So I'm hoping we can get there at some point with the Big Sky as well.
I want you to just finish this sentence for me, Coach Moreira. So for our team to make a run in the Big Sky tournament, we have to.
Defend and rebound. That's it. Just got to defend and rebound. If we can win the glass and we can win the possessions battle every game, I like our chances.
Thank you, Coach Moreira. Best of
All right.
luck.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Krista Redpath Show, where we are being joined by Tricia Binford, head coach for Montana State. So first off, Coach Ben, I just want to congratulate you on, I mean, you set the precedent last year. I mean, just records with a 30-win season. And then again, this year, you end up finishing with 23 wins and your last loss coming just a month ago. And it just seems like you continue to put up phenomenal teams year after year. You're in your 21st year. You haven't had a losing season in 19 of those. You're the most winningest coach in Bobcat history. I mean, I could go on and on and on. A lot of those things rattle around in my head, but talk about this year and give us a glimpse into the season.
Well, I mean, thank you for the kind words. I think there's a consistency right now in our staff. There's a consistency with the identity of who we are as a program, and those are the kinds of kids that we're identifying that fit us really well. It's been an amazing year. I'm like, I wouldn't have if I kind of captured that prior to our Monday game with the team of. I was joking with them. The average age of our team's 15. It's not. It's probably 19, maybe 20. But for what they've been able to accomplish with our preseason schedule and everything, it takes willing kids that are willing to do what's ever needed on both ends of the floor. And we just have a really selfless squad, and we have relentless leadership, even though we're young. We've got a junior class that's got a ton of experience of what it looks like to be counted on and be consistent. And then you've got a relentless sophomore class that shows you what it looks like to compete. And then you got a freshman class that's fearless. So it's just been kind of that mix of evolving as we've gone.
So I do want to give some kudos to your non-conference. And when I take a look at that win that you had at home against UNLV, this is a UNLV team that has 19 wins. Also, you go to Colorado and you give them their first loss of the season. You win at home or, beat them on their home floor, and they have 20 wins this year. That's a quad 1 and quad 2 win heading into conference season. Talk about the growth of your team from non-conference to conference.
Well, yeah, I mean, both of those wins too. We had two kids that we had lost after the Colorado game. So you've got Brooke Berry, Fatu Pico now. It's hard to say her last name. And then Heidi Smith, who ended up having to redshirt for the rest of the year. But, we've since gotten Brooke back. But, there's been a lot that's kind of gone into play with having a junior coming into the season, with not having a lot of juniors, waiting to see if Dylan was going to be an option or not. And then, didn't end up having her as an option. And so in the meantime, you're throwing a freshman like Jamison Phillip into a starting point guard role. And initially, early on, we were seeing if we could start Taylor at the 1 and then work Jamison and Bree in. It became very clear that, Taylor and Addie were going to be two kids that we were going to put a lot of responsibility for where are you producing points for what we graduated. And Jamison just continued to be that kid you couldn't take off the floor. And so finding that complement with how those two played off of each other, it was interesting because last year you've got that really quick group coming off the bench.
Mhm.
And with Taylor and Addie starting, Jameson kind of filled that of, okay, we're going to start with that this year. And we just felt like this group was going to be faster. So how do we bridge that in without losing confidence with a very difficult schedule? So there was some unknown on how they would handle the schedule. But what wasn't unknown is kind of the fight and the kind of kids we've recruited. And so the mentality has been very consistent from day one to where we're at today. I would say the biggest growth, to answer your question, is probably become like end of quarter, low shot clock. We're still growing in those areas, but close, tight games, because we've had some games where we've put teams heavily away or we're coming from behind. And so that management where we're just used to playing full throttle. And how do you manage the times where you're not? And I think that's the area that they've taken some great strides.
So when I think about Montana State, I think about the identity of defense. It's relentless. You put kids on the floor that are going to compete so hard for you, but you also are number 2 in putting up points this year for the Big Sky. So you found a way offensively to take advantage of multiple weapons. Can you speak to that in terms of your balance?
Yeah, well, one area is I would say we've gotten better at converting off of our defense. I think that's an area that we're improving. So I think that has helped us offensively where, there is a lot in the half court as well. But the defense has been interesting. So going kind of back to your previous question, when you get into conference and the conference is more familiar with your style of pressing, I would compliment our conference that they have really improved this year. That's forced us to manage when to be conservative, when to be aggressive, because the conference has gotten so much better against presses too. So that's where, the offense does come into play of you might not be getting the same level of created turnovers that you might get in the preseason where you're a little bit more of a surprise with your system or your style than what you are when you play a team in conference that is playing you for the 4th time in the last 2 years.
So personnel-wise, it is no secret that you have the premier player on your team in Taylor Cherick, and she's leading in almost every statistical category. It's been amazing to watch, even nationally, that she's in the top for steals in 3 to 5 in the country. I mean, that's pretty incredible. But what I also love about Taylor Cherick's game is she makes others around her better. And you can see that in her assists, and she sets the pace. She kind of has just one speed. I don't think she ever gets tired. Plus, she's just such a great kid, too. Can you speak to her leadership this year?
Well, first thing before I get to her leadership, last night we had Cat Chat at the radio, and I think, Keaton had asked her, he's like, this is kind of, I just want to know if this is a myth or not, but have you ever had to put your hands on your knees for being fatigued? And she said no. So it's not a myth. She doesn't get tired. And yes, she does go for runs after games. What I love about Taylor's leadership is she does it by just how she shows up. And sometimes your best way to lead is earning the respect of, if you have something to say, you've got to have the respect of you're backing it up so you can get other people to do what they do. But she's also going to come at it at a very positive way. She is somebody to lift others up always. She's not going to be super hard. The thing she's going to be hard on is out competing. And she's never going to go into a game without a mentality of whatever it takes to win the game. And so I think that's her greatest leadership is when she steps on the floor, the kids feel confident because of how Taylor approaches the game. And you can always control those things. But she has gotten more vocal this year. So that's been really fun to watch. And she sticks to, perfecting the simple type of things that really grabs the kids' attention. She doesn't make it complicated. But she is next play mentality. She never gets stuck in the past. She is very, very hard on herself, probably harder than anybody else could ever be. But I think that's what makes her a winner. She is very unique. She's very special. But one of my favorite attributes besides her leadership is she's kind of, that is leadership, but how she shows up for everybody else around her, like you said, with her teammates, but she's the first one to sign autographs after every single game, whether we're on the road or at home. She is always the first one out there. She does a lot with Special Olympics. She does things at the elementary schools. I just think when kids have that platform, she's utilizing it extremely well.
Well, she was the first kiddo to come over and greet me in Dahlberg Arena and meet my mom right on the side of the court. So she's just that type of kid that she exudes goodness and you just want to be around her.
Yeah. Well, thank you for appreciating and acknowledging her passing ability too, with her playmaking for others, because I think sometimes that piece of her game is a little bit undervalued, but like in transition, she can find people, and she's off the bounce pulling 3 to 4 kids right now or getting denied. I'm like, she's going to find her teammates. So I think that's a really special piece of her game.
And also her rebounding. That's another piece that I think just shows how hard-nosed she is. It's very exceptional to see a guard be able to average 7 rebounds a game. And so there's every facet of her game is really remarkable.
Yeah, really, really great instinct. She knows what's going to happen a second, probably earlier than most people, and where it's going to be. So it's kind of funny sometimes on the sideline when a rebound's coming off and you're like, yeah, that kid doesn't see her coming, because she's so instinctual of where to sneak around. And, I just think those instincts are just her gifts.
So Coach Ben, how different is coaching tournament basketball compared to regular season?
I mean, I don't know if it's really that different at all. I guess the big thing is like your kids are feeling a little bit more butterflies because it's like you've got one game to move forward in advance. But probably the biggest thing for us would be less is more, your tournament time. If they don't know it by now, then I could be getting in the way of letting them play at the pace they need to play at. I want them to trust what's in, want them to trust who we are, and trust that they're going to make right decisions and get to next plays, and we're going to have their back for that. So I'm excited to see where they're at this time of year.
So Coach Ben, can you finish this sentence for me? For our team to make a run in the Big Sky tournament, we have to
have everyone. It takes all of us. We absolutely need our starting lineup through everybody on our bench. The way we play, we need everybody. And it's typically how you advance in tournament. You get really consistent production across the board. It's always a surprise, right? Last year we had an Izzy Bunyan. I'm like, there's always surprise. It's going to take everyone.
Thanks, Trish. Thanks as well to Carla Taylor, former Weber State head coach, and to Tricia Binford, Montana State head coach, and Arthur Moreira, head coach for Idaho. And thanks to all of you for listening. This week's episode of the Krista Redpath Show was brought to you by the Big Sky Conference, Vertical Rays, Layered Cali, and the Good Food Store. Coming up next week, we will have a Big Sky Conference champion. Tune in for a recap of the 2026 tournament.